This is Nalini Haynes, your host on Dark Matter Zine's Into the Limelight series. Today I'm shining the limelight on Kylie Chan. Kylie married a Hong Kong national in a traditional Chinese wedding ceremony in eastern China. She lived with him in Australia for 10 years, then moved to Hong Kong for another 10 years. And during that time, she learned a great deal about Chinese culture. When she left her husband, she moved back to Australia. After quitting her IT consultancy in Hong Kong, she took up writing fantasy. Now, 3 door-stopping trilogies later, she's talking to Dark Matter Zine. Welcome, Kylie.
Thank you, Nalini. Lovely to be here.
Now, you're a white Australian with an unusual penchant for writing books based on Chinese mythology. How did you fall down this rabbit hole?
When I returned to Australia in 2002, the Harry Potter series was enormous, and I thought I could do that. The thing that sold Harry Potter so well was that it was different, and I was working out, what do I know that's different from anything else out there on the fantasy shelves? And frankly, I was thoroughly sick of the Tolkien derived fantasy books with elves and dwarves and, the dwarven mines and the mountains of doom. And I thought if I read another book with those tropes in it, I would just die. So I thought, well, I know Chinese mythology. I've been living it for 20 years, so I'll use that. And that's what I did.
Well, Tolkien was iconic in his time, and he certainly paved the way for the fantasy genre. But there are only so many repetitions of Tolkien that anybody can stand to read.
That's right, and the quality can vary so much. It's exciting when someone explores a new mythology. Greek mythology is out there quite a lot. I know that Chinese mythology is not as well not commonly handled because not many people know too much about it. I'd love to see more African and South American mythology. Yes.
It's a bit surprising, I think, that there isn't more Chinese mythology. I mean, when you think about the Monkey series was so big when we were kids.
Yes. We all watched Monkey because it was on before Doctor Who.
Which is so very, very true. And it was repeated endlessly.
Our generation, we'd get down on the TV at 6 o'clock and watch The Goodies or Monkey and then Doctor Who while Mum was yelling at us to come and get dinner. Monkey is Japanese, and we all Astro Boy was on the TV when I was a kid. Astro Boy, Kimber the White Lion. We all grew up with Japanese anime and that sort of culture. Unfortunately, the Chinese Communist Party decided that religion was bad. And during the Chinese Communist rule in China, most of the religion was abolished. So you've got 2 factors that are killing the ancient spirituality of China in China. You've got the first is the Communist Party's choice to go around basically destroying all the temples, which is what they did. And then in Hong Kong, where I was, it's regarded as old people's superstition. And modern Chinese people, if they do practice a religion, generally tend to be loudly Christian because that's trendy, modern and trendy and very Western. So the Chinese mythology is disappearing. It's very much woven into the framework of everyday Hong Kong life. But if you try and do any research into the folk tales, that's when it all dries up. There's not much scholarly stuff I could get my hands on. Yeah.
And yet it's embedded in the culture.
It is very much so. Every Chinese New Year, Monkey King would appear all over the telly. People would have advertisements with the Monkey King doing stuff to do with their product. It was just normal. Yes.
What can you tell us about the Dark Heavens series and Black Jade, the final book of the final trilogy?
As it's the final book in a 9-book series, I really can't even start at the beginning without having massive spoilers for the whole series. It is a 9-book series, originally published as 3 trilogies of 3. I had the storyline in my head, and it was originally 3 books, but because I am so very good at talking, Each book grew into 3 books. The first novel I had to stop when I realized I already had enough words for 2 novels. So the storyline is rich and immense and quite epic, and has a lot of ups and downs and wars and peace and personal failure and weakness and strength. Black Jade is the absolute last story, and I have finished the whole story with this book. But if anyone was to come in and start at the beginning of Black Jade, I think they would probably not understand most of it and not get any of it. So if anyone was going to read the series, I'd absolutely recommend starting at book 1. And I've started putting that in the beginning of the novels themselves, saying start at White Tiger. That's where this story begins. Yes.
Yes, well, I've read most of the series. I don't think I read books 7 and 8.
Yes.
But I read all the others.
Yes.
And Black Jade, like, there is so much that happens over the course of the series. So much. And at the end, I felt that you did fan services for people. You wrapped up so many different characters. You brought people in for little cameos to say, oh, and this is what happens to this person, so everybody can go, oh, and be really happy.
I do get complaints. You left this person to a loose end, or I don't know what happened to this character. So to head off all the emails at the pass, I have tried to make sure that all of the threads were tied up neatly. I did, starting at the beginning of this book, have what I referred to as the Moffat list, because Stephen Moffat does the same thing. I had a Moffat list of all the open storylines that had to be tied up. So I made sure that there was a satisfactory ending for everyone. And fortunately, the book has been out for a week, and I have not yet received an email from someone saying, you left this character here and didn't say where they went to. Although if I had, I probably could have written some extra novellas and of where people's stories went. I'm sure those emails are coming. I've already received an email about a typo in my description of the book on my own website that I haven't changed yet.
Well, those kinds of emails, as long as they're, a nice spirit, can be actually a good thing, maybe.
I think some fans reach a point where they love something so much that they hate it. Look at the Doctor Who fans. They love it so much that they hate it.
Oh.
Complain non-stop about Moffat or the Daleks or whatever they hate about the new series.
Yep. Yeah, I think Doctor Who's a really complex situation, partly because it's so long running and it's had so many different eras, and personally I think Stephen Moffat's done himself a huge disservice, because in several of the extras on DVDs he's turned around and said, well, Doctor Who is such a silly show. Yes. And if he hadn't said that,
yes,
it wouldn't be quite so bad.
Yes. your fans are silly and you are silly, and the thing you like is stupid. Yeah, you can't tell people that. No. And one more digression. I had a bit of a rant this morning. I wrote a review. I watched the 3rd episode of Containment this morning. Yes.
And it just seems to me that the writers are trying to be literary, and
yes.
they're probably a bit embarrassed about working in this genre. And instead of embracing it to the full, they're doing a really bad job of it.
Yeah.
And episode 3 is the last episode I will watch.
Oh.
But I would like to watch Corden, which is the European original material, the original TV series. It's Belgian, I think, from memory.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, that's a digression.
Yes.
Okay, so Dark Heavens is a 9-book series, and you can see that it's a doorstopper.
Yeah.
So, yes, and this is one of 9.
Yes.
So there's quite a few hours from reading there for people who are into epic fantasy.
And people are sad that it's finished. which is nice. Yes.
Yes, it's kind of like you've done a George R.R. Martin, but in probably half the time he's going to take to finish his series.
Yes.
And everyone's been telling him to hurry up, and now people will be complaining to you that you've finished.
Yes.
Can't win.
Yes. I'm planning a spin-off, and that seems to be keeping people happy.
Okay, so can you tell us about the spin-off?
Absolutely. There's three main characters. There's the god John. The main character in that series is Emma, and John's daughter, half Chinese daughter Simone, who will have a lot to deal with at the end of Black Jade. There's a lot of repercussions for her, but she is going to go to the University of Queensland to study marine biology because, of course, she will, and hilarity will ensue. Yes, that's not going to be as dark and gritty. It's going to be a little bit more lighthearted and younger, and I'm going to let my sense of humour out a bit. So I've promised my readers, yes, this is coming, and that's kept them happy. Yay!
Well, that sounds really good. And I hear tell that you've actually studied at the University of Queensland yourself, so you'll be able to enlarge upon your experiences.
Yes, I've worked there as well. I worked in one of the residential colleges for a couple of years as the cranky woman behind the desk at nighttime, night porter. I would still be doing it, but I got fired at the beginning of this year because I couldn't give them commitment to every single weekend during semester because I'm too busy off being a famous author. So yeah, I have a lot of insight into college life of the residences on the campus. So I am planning to use that in international students.
And you joined good company because Brandon Sanderson was a night manager in a hotel or a motel, whatever you want to call it, while he was writing in his early days before he became a full-time writer.
It's ideal if you're a writer. The best thing about it is there's no supervision. Just all the bosses have gone home. So you can pretty much do whatever you like. And provided nobody dies or nothing gets in the paper, they don't really care what you do. That sounds harder. That's actually harder than it sounds. It was quite difficult. We were close there for a few times over the 2 years I was there.
Would you like to share any stories?
No, I won't. No, I don't want the institution to be identified.
Okay, so are you going to creatively use these experiences in your upcoming book?
Oh, absolutely. Except if I was to realistically describe some of the young people there, people would accuse me of lazy stereotyping.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that they'd accuse you of being unrealistic if you based it on reality.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, what happened was completely unbelievable. Yeah, and the nailing the stereotypes. Yeah, some of the behaviour there was very, very unbelievable. Yeah, so I'll have to tone it down to make it sound more realistic.
But stereotypes are there for a reason, and if you're dealing with hundreds of people over a period of time, you are going to see the stereotypes.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes.
Now, you've heard people say that fantasy books are too indulgent. What would you like to say to them?
How can anything be too indulgent? Do you know, people email me and people come up to me and say, I have a bookmark here. Where is it? It's a lovely bookmark. It's to Kylie from Shirley. Thank you for saving my sanity, it says on the back. I've left it on the card. She was in chemo and she read my books while she was in chemo, and I've heard that my books are hospital books and they help people escape from the horrible situations that they are in hospital. So to say that something is too indulgent is really doing it a disservice when it's helping people who in their hour of need to escape from the horrors of what they're suffering from. My books are known as hospital and prison books as well, very popular in prisons.
sometimes you do not want to read realism.
Yes.
And I think when you're in a situation like, I mean, I've spent a huge amount of time in hospital, but as a carer.
Yes.
And, you know, if I had been in a situation where I could actually just sit and lose myself in a book, I tell you what I would have.
Yes.
Unfortunately, caring for a small child,
Yes.
not really an option.
Yes. Nothing nicer than when they grow up big enough and you can leave them for a while and go and read a book again. It's the
Yes,
absolutely.
absolutely. Absolutely. I keep seeing people on social media making comments about having young children. My normal response is, never mind, they grow up.
Yeah, they do. It's only the first 20 years that are the really tough ones.
Yeah, that's right. So what's the last book you've read?
I have just been power reading through the Charles Stross Laundry Files, which is very dark old ones, horror based, with a modern IT humorous management style twist.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, they are. They're extremely good. And I was reading them on the aeroplane backwards and forwards to Oz Comic Con. And since I finished up to the most recent Charles Stross Laundry Files one, I'm back, now reading the most recent Benedict Jacker at Alex Verus Diviner Mage story that has just come out as well.
Okay, well, he was very much in the flavour of Jim Butcher.
Yes, yeah, they referred, now Charles Stross and Benedict Jacker both refer to Jim Butcher's work. They say, "Oh, there's this mage over in Chicago doing this stuff," and he sounds like a real loser.
Yes, well, I do like that kind of in-joke. I think science fiction, it has a reputation for authors being in dialogue with each other through their works. You know, Heinlein refers to someone and Asimov refers to Heinlein, and I'm not citing specific examples because I can't think of them off the top of my head, but they're all having this conversation, and it continues today, and I think that's just wonderful.
Benedict Jacker in this book has a character called Barayar, which is the name of the planet where Lois McMaster Bujold has set her series. So that's a very unique name that Lois Bujold made up, and Benedict Jacker actually refers to it as one of his character names. So there's sort of little nods and tips of the hat, which is really nice to see.
What are your favourite female characters in any medium?
Wonder Woman always. Yes, Wonder Woman always. The way that she was originally written as a counterpoint to all the big macho He-Man sort of violence stuff struck a chord with me way back from when I was tiny. Hermione in Harry Potter just lives out. And a character that I really enjoyed watching recently was Felicity Smoke in the Arrow series, because she's an IT hacker, and I'm IT from way back, and they don't have her saying anything really dumb about computers. She's just awesome. Yeah, fantastic. In fact, I'd rather the show was about her.
Yes, I must admit I've kind of lost a bit of interest in Arrow, and but if it was about her, I'd be keen. Absolutely.
It started to grate with me when everyone in the series, every woman in the place loves Oliver. It should be called Everyone Loves Oliver. He's like a kind of black hole of women falling in love with him. Yeah, she could have been better as a best friend.
I really like it when characters have those kinds of friendships, and it sets a great role model that people can be friends and be the opposite sex.
Yes. Supergirl does this, although I wish they hadn't had. His name is Win, sort of pining over her. He's in love with her, but she's not in love with him, and they've turned it into a sort of a friend zone thing. It would have been better if they'd just been great mates, you know, hanging around together, rather than him pining after her. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think any of these characters have influenced your character? Because Emma Donohoe is a kick-ass chick.
Nope. No. This she. You see, I started writing her in 2003, 2003. So none of them were around. Wonder Woman has nothing to do with Emma. Emma was. I knew my sister was going through a rough patch. She's in Canberra, and she was in one of the government departments in a cubicle, putting up with all the politics in her government department and having a rough home life. So I thought I will put her in a situation where she can kick some serious butt. And so the book was written for all the ordinary Australian women stuck in cubicles, really. So it's mostly my sister. It's also my Hong Kong British friend that I've had a very good friend in Hong Kong who was similar. They just went in and got things done. So at the time I tried to make her as ordinary as possible and doing extraordinary things, because that's what women do every day anyway.
Well, she starts out as a nanny, even though she finishes up as something completely different.
That was 100% a plot device. I needed a way to have her in the house. I nearly made her an IT consultant going in to fix his computers all the time, but that wouldn't give them enough time together to have the relationships. And the daughter was an important part of it. So I went, this is such a cliche, her being the nanny. It's so very Jane Austen, but it worked as a plot device. So yeah, I pressed the button on the plot device and the plot came out.
Well, I'm quite a fan of Jane Austen, and she's a classic for a reason. Yes. Not just because she wrote in the early 19th century, but because she's a damn good writer.
Yeah, she is. I love her. I love her biting social commentary. Some of the jokes she makes are appallingly bad taste. No one seems to realise.
Yeah, well, and I mean that Jane Austen stereotypes. I mean, Hyacinth Bouquet has got to be Mrs. Bennet.
Yes.
I mean, it's classic.
Yes. I don't want to paint anyone. I didn't paint anyone as 100% bad or 100% good. Everyone has shades of grey, and I had fun making the big bad, the Demon King, very charming. That was a lot of fun right up until the end.
It was really. I don't want to say too much, so I'm being really cautious, but I thought it was really interesting how some people were demons, but it was kind of like they were good demons.
Yes.
And
that is 100% canon, the whole taming demons and demons turning good. That's even in the story of the Monkey King that happens. The Pigsy in the Monkey King was cast down from heaven. He was a general who offended heaven and was born as a pig. So yeah, it's not much difference between the good guys and the bad guys. I explore that more in my novellas, which are written from the point of view of the good guys and the bad guys. A demon having to survive when she doesn't want to be one. And yeah, I have a lot of fun with that, but that's 100% canon. It's the way it's written in the mythology.
Well, the mythology has a lot of humour too. I mean, trying to avoid quoting the intro to Monkey, but the nature of Monkey is irrepressible.
They're entertaining stories, first and foremost. And as the stories gathered momentum, people would change them around to suit themselves and retell them, and they're rather like the story of Robin Hood. There's been so many retellings. The original theme is there and the character is immediately identifiable, but the rest of it is go for your life, do what you want. Yes,
and my father told me he's travelled a lot. Mm-hmm. And he told me that in Indonesia, Monkey is a huge favourite of the common people, and they would actually stage plays on boats or using boats as stages, and it was quite spectacular.
Yes, yeah. In the Hungry Ghost Festival, they erect temporary stages out of bamboo, and these things are enormous, and they put on Chinese operas, the traditional tales, for the hungry ghosts. There's no audience. The shows are put on for the ghosts. And when I was in China for my wedding, it was a festival, and they put up again a big temporary. These things are enormous, out of bamboo, similar to the enormous bamboo scaffolding that they put around the buildings in Hong Kong. And they also had shadow puppet plays and little puppet plays that are similar to the Western style Punch and Judy. Some beautiful little puppets. I have photos around here somewhere of the gorgeous puppets that they use to tell the stories. So the stories are everywhere, and they are folksy sort of entertainment. Yeah, there's fun, there's martial arts, there's dancing, there's singing. It's a bit Shakespearean, the whole thing. Yes.
Speaking of which, what did you think of the remake of Karate Kid, the one that was actually set in China?
I didn't watch it. I don't. I'm kind of if Hollywood is going to grab a story like that and remake it, then it's almost always guaranteed to be bad. So I stay away. They made a Monkey King, with Jet Li in it as the Monkey King, and Hollywood did it so that the main character is an American white kid who studies martial arts for 25 seconds and suddenly starts kicking ass everywhere, and his love interest is the typical female character who's been studying all her life to be a major assassin, but he's just better than her because reasons. And yeah, after seeing that sort of thing, I'm kind of like, oh God, I'm not. Yeah, Hollywood, you're okay doing Western stories, but when you try and go into the Asia, I mean, I was just 2 minutes ago reading the article about Tilda Swinton in Doctor Strange. George Takei has words about it, and I don't blame him. Whitewashing is a major problem, and the idea that you have to have a white character for the audience to identify with, although I've done it myself, I've written novellas where the main character is not white, and they've just been just as well received. So
I have to admit that I agree with you. I actually wasn't going to watch The Karate Kid, but then my partner made me, and it was like, oh, actually, I think this is actually quite good.
Yeah.
You know, it was different. But on the topic of whitewashing, have you heard about the casting for the new Rocky Horror Show?
No, I haven't.
I heard that they were going to remake it. I'm like, oh, no, not interested. Tim Curry will always be Frankenfurter for me. And then today on Twitter, I heard that a cis white guy turned down the role.
Yeah.
And they're having, and I can't remember her name, but so that a coloured trans woman will be Frankenfurter.
Excellent.
And she's gorgeous. I've seen her in other things. I just can't remember her name off the top of my head. I can even see a picture in my mind's eye.
We can
and
all
now I will see it. I will look forward to it. I might even go to the cinema to watch it. It's great to see, diverse people getting the roles. And when you see something like that happen, it's like, well, this is what it's all about, isn't it?
Yes.
And I, for one, am sick of seeing, Hollywood goes through its, it has its A-list actors, but it's like Jennifer Lawrence, she may be a good actress, but she's in everything.
Yes, she is.
And before that, it was Keira Knightley. And before that, and it's like, oh, come on. And some people praise Cloud Atlas, but, I think they could have had, the appropriate race of people. You didn't have to have, was it Hugo Weaving or Sam Neill? I can't remember. I think it was Hugo Weaving doing Yellowface. I mean, just no.
Yes. Yeah, we know why you're doing it, but it's still wrong. It doesn't matter how many reasons you have, it's still wrong.
Yeah. Anyway, so who are your favourite male characters in any medium?
Oh, that's an awful question to spring on me. Who's my favourite male character? I don't have favourites. I just watch. I am a sucker for superhero shows, so I watch all the superhero shows.
Marvel or DC?
All of them, every single one, even how bad they are. I've even been watching Legends of Tomorrow, which is terrible. It's so bad. When the characters turn sideways, they disappear. They're so deep two-dimensional. What are this character attributes? He's a tough ass that has a big gun, and that's his entire attributes. There's hardly any. I mean, the ship is cool, and the concept is okay, and Arthur Darvill is chewing the scenery, being the Time Lord he always wanted to be, duster and everything. But just, and they do have a woman of color in it playing Hawk Girl, and the biggest kick-ass character is also a woman. But they're supporting cast from the other superhero shows. So we're thoroughly into Joni Loves Chachi levels of spin-off here.
But even that could be brilliant if you had great writers.
It all comes down to the story in the end. And sometimes the story is all right, but the script is so predictable and the acting is so wooden that you go, oh, geez. And my daughter comes in and watches it for 5 minutes with me and goes, why are you watching this, Mum? And I say, it's superheroes. And she says, you don't have to watch everything that has superheroes. And yeah, she's right. I don't know whether I'll be continuing with it. The only superhero show I really don't want to watch that much is Daredevil because of the level of gory violence in it, which I find a bit of a turn-off. And I think I'm the only person on the planet who's not watching Game of Thrones for the same reason.
Mm. Oh, no, you're not the only person. No, I've seen a lot of people.
Lives are burnt at the stake. I know about the most recent episode's spoilers, and I'm sitting here quite smug going, yep, they're sold out.
I'm interested to see where the TV series goes.
Yeah.
But it has turned into a soapy. I mean, it turned into a soapy well before.
It was always a soapy, but now that particular thing that they did was 100% pure fan service for obvious reasons. And a lot of people are having a bit of a chortle about it.
What would you like to see more of in terms of tropes or plot lines?
Just diversity. Less of the white guy walks in, kicks ass, wins the girl, saves the day, and walks out. Less of group of people travel from A to B, passing obstacles on the way, collecting MacGuffins, and living happily ever after. The whole thing where the love interest is a trophy to be won at the end just makes me feel mildly nauseous. The whole, if there's a relationship, there must immediately be jealousy, a love triangle, and conflict within the relationship. Also, Hollywood seems to have a lot of trouble with people working in teams. This is something I've got in my books, is that we've got a group of people who are a team who work together very well. There is very little conflict between them. Hollywood seems to think that if you've got a group of people working in a team, they have to be bickering all the time because conflict will drive a story. But if you've got a cohesive team, and Star Trek have done this, if you've got a cohesive team facing an external threat, it makes the threat that much more demanding because you've got the whole team working together. It's a very satisfying way to deal with problems rather than the lone gun individual, disagreeing with everyone and going his own way. I'd rather see more teams working together and more couples who are devoted to each other and not having a lot of jealousy and love triangle story. Oh, he's my old love from back then coming in. Yeah.
So more Wharf and Dax.
More Wharf and Dax. Yes, exactly. Just that sort of thing. And the only thing that's driving them apart is external forces rather than internal forces. So they have each other to rely on, and that's something that very often storylines don't do.
I stopped watching Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman
Yeah.
because I just got so sick of it's like they started the relationship and then it's like, oh, but then there's this girl for him and then there's this guy for her. It's like,
Yes.
why bother?
Yes.
But admittedly, I also stopped watching Lois and Clark because it's like, oh, we're going to get married, but no, we're not. Oh, we're going to get married, but
Yes.
no, it's like, it was just too repetitive.
Yes, yes. The only thing that ruined Moonlighting was the fact that they finally stopped the sexual tension, announced their feelings for each other, and that killed it. So changing a relationship can ruin things. Yeah, sexual tension is great too. Yeah.
Yeah. And the oh, what's that show with Nathan Fillion? Castle. I must say that the she's pining for him, then she's got a relationship, then he's pining for her, and then she's that got a bit old.
That sort of stuff is just really frustrating, and you want to bash the writers on the head. Although, like most writers, I don't watch Castle because it makes me want to break things, because that is so not how it works. I personally am only just managing. People don't believe this, but I just made it over the poverty line last year. Yeah, with my income from writing, and this is 9 bestsellers.
Well, I think the average income for writers in Australia is supposed to be about $5,000 a year, isn't it?
Yes, that's about it.
And the poverty line's what, 40, 45 these days?
Yeah, if I'm very lucky, I will scrape in at the poverty line with my income from writing. So I'm always doing other things to boost my income, and I can't visit schools because of the nature of my books. I do get contacted by schools asking me to go along and tell them about my stories, and I say, you do realize that there is graphic interspecies relationships in my books? And they say, okay, never mind. Thanks for letting us know. Yeah, we'll talk to someone else.
Have you thought about writing something that's a bit like more YA?
I think the Simone spin-off will be a little bit more new adult, as she's in her early 20s and just making her way in the world. I think it would be fun if a very close friend of hers, who's a white girl, will be absolutely convinced that she's a mermaid and will be trying to turn it into a mermaid narrative when it's not actually.
Oh, that could be fun.
Yeah, I think it could be fun.
What about some of these rocks?
Oh, the rocks. The rocks will be involved.
I'm just thinking some of these rocks are quite young, and
yes.
I could see that for people who haven't read any of Kylie's books, rocks are actual characters. They're like people. They can be a stone, but they can take human form if they want to. And I was just thinking that some of these rocks are children, and maybe they could be part of a YA story.
Yes. There is that. I am planning that element in the spin-off of the Rocks of Australia, and I do have to do a lot of research into Australian mythology, which means that I have to go and talk to a lot of people to make sure that my representation is respectful and authentic, which I just set myself a huge amount of work here as Whitey McWhitison. Yeah, so this might take a while. I've started interviewing Indigenous university students, which has been very rewarding. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. I always like to hear that when someone's appropriated a culture, that they've consulted heavily and they've done their research, and it's all respectful, because I might read it and I might think it's good, but it's not necessarily going to be good from their point of view because I'm not part of that culture.
Yeah, it's provided you're authentic. And the only people who have accused me of cultural appropriation, although I haven't been accused of cultural appropriation in years, are white people. Chinese people have come up to me and said that they've read my books and thanked me for doing the research that they didn't want to do, because the mythology is being lost, and I've done the hard work for them. And I basically wrote the books to share the stories with my daughter, uh, who is half Chinese and losing her heritage. So I just wanted to make that available to her. Although she's so sick of hearing about it now. She doesn't want anything to do with it.
I can understand that.
Yes.
Well, 2 years ago,
Yes.
you said that you were for more characters and more storylines being introduced to The Hobbit. Now,
Yes.
the trilogy's complete.
Yes.
What do you think of the end product?
I watched about 3/4 of the first movie, and it was so tedious that I just kind of gave up. It was so boring. Oh my God. I'm sorry, I couldn't watch it. It was unwatchable. It was so tedious. The obligatory, and I've taken to calling them that, the obligatory female. In fact, I've reviewed Captain America and called a certain female character obligatory, because she's the obligatory love interest in a very male-driven story. She's just, I mean, she's wearing a blinking sign above her head saying token female. It was really boring, and the addition of a woman can't rescue a story that has way too much filler in it. Yeah, it was really fun. God, I'm going to get burnt at the stake for this one.
Oh no, I agree. I loved the honest trailer for the first Hobbit movie.
Yes,
It
honest
really-
trailer. Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yes.
Yes, it was well worth watching. Okay, well, apart from these books that you have planned, or books, sounds like you could do spin-offs forever.
I could.
And then there'd probably be, well, you will have people who would be very happy if they filled their whole library with your books.
Yes.
What's next for you? Do you have other things as well that you have planned?
Yep. I haven't signed the contract yet, but we're doing a offer memo at the moment for a new series, which is a complete departure from everything else. It's not Chinese mythology based. It's not a fantasy. It's a science fantasy, a la Star Wars. It's kind of a space opera, but set in near future Earth. And there's a lot of ideas being percolating around that I'm going to throw into this. It's a new trilogy called the Dragon Scales Trilogy. Basically, humanity is starting to explore the stars, and an alien species shows up that looks like dragons. And when people say, hold on, you look like dragons, the dragons say, well, of course we do. We've been visiting for a long time, helping you along. And humanity go, why didn't you let us know that you are aliens? And the dragons say, well, that's obvious, isn't it? We've been helping you along because no planet is worth visiting if you can't have a cup of tea. So we've been helping along and planting tea all through the universe so that when you're at a level we can talk to you, we'll be able to sit down and have a nice cup of tea. So I've let my sense of humour go a little bit with this one. But, the Dragon Scales Trilogy, I'm on the verge of signing a contract with Harper Voyager for this one. And I've read extracts to people to audiences at Oz Comic Cons, and the reaction I've received has been very, very favourable. Everyone loves it. So I'm looking forward to that one. The first novel is the trilogy is outlined. The first novel is well and truly already started because I finished Black Jade last year, so I've had quite a while to get into this, and this is where my head is right now, and it's strange to be brought back into the John Emmett universe when I've been out of it for so many months. There you go. So, yep, new series coming.
So, are you at all concerned that people are going to associate it with Joe Hill's The Fireman?
I don't know. I haven't read The Fireman, so I'll have to read it. I'm me, and everyone knows who I am, so I don't really.
Well, it's very different. It's just that Joe Hill's story has a spore. I was going to call it a virus, but it's a spore. It's a fungus called dragon scale.
Oh, right. Okay. I might have to change the name of it. That's not a big deal. If you know, the titles of my books are always changed 3 or 4 times before they're printed anyway. Sometimes 2 weeks before release.
Well, it's a very, very different story, but just that word, it's like, oh, I've just finished the book yesterday, so
Yeah,
that's
okay.
straight where my head went.
Right, I'll have to have a look at it. And I digress, but Queenie got me to watch One Punch Man, and it's hilarious. It's so meta. The way that they've got monsters attacking cities, it's like someone took all the outlines of Dragon Ball Z and just got the story. So we've got this monster attacking a city. What's the name of the city? The name of the city doesn't matter. It's just going to be the place that is destroyed. So the city's names are just City A to City Z. And One Punch Man lives in City Z, and monsters come and he takes them out with one punch. And no one sees him have big fights, so everyone assumes that there's not much to him. So it's just brilliant in its unpacking of the Japanese superhero model of it even pokes fun at things like the superhero sitting down and explaining their long and torturous trail to get where they are. The hero says, oh, for God's sake, just cut to the finish and tell me what happened in the end, and I don't need to know about your long torturous past. It's wonderfully meta, but he can take anyone down with just one punch, which means that the fight's very short, which is the most realistic way of depicting fights ever. So Queenie got me onto this while she was visiting me here in Queensland. And so One Punch Man versus just about anyone, One Punch Man would win. Really, he'd even be able to punch Superman into the sun.
Speaking of Queenie Chan, I have to confess that I think my favourite book in your entire 9-book series isn't actually one of the 9 books. It's your prequel, Small Shen.
Small Shen.
So would you like to talk a bit about that?
Oh, I love Small Shen. Way back in the beginning of everything, my literary agent said to get your name out more, you need to write short stories. So I started writing a short story, and it was Small Shen, and it was 40,000 words, which is not a short story. In fact, it's a short novel. And I met Queenie at a convention, and we were kind of like, oh, we've got the same name, we're sisters. And that joke is not being let go. We're still twin sisters when anyone asks us. People ask us if we're related, her being Chinese and me being white, and we both say immediately, yes, we're twin sisters. But I said I had Chinese mythology-based stuff, and she said, do you have anything I could draw? And I said, yes. And Small Shen just happened from there. It's got more of the stone story. It's actually the main character is a stone, so it's yeah. And Queenie's illustrations are just beautiful, and she brought my characters to life. So I'm loving Small Shen as well. It has not yet been released overseas. The world rights have never been sold for it. It's only available in Australia. We are fixing that with the Bento Net, hopefully. Queenie Chan, she started a new self-publishing channel online that will help self-publishers and indie bookshops. It's leveraging, and here's me being an MBA, it's leveraging the existing tools for small publishers, indie publishers and indie bookshops to bring them together and print on demand. Print on demand has in the past been something where you put a big machine in a bookshop and people sit there for 2 hours watching it. When actually modern print on demand is a printing center that has lightning fast turnaround, which is why it's probably called Lightning Source, and can deliver single or double, small amounts to bookstores. So the BentoNet takes advantage of this new technology, allowing people to order a single copy of a book they like.
And apparently it's a global or nearly global network, so that there are different different printing agencies in different locations, reducing postage costs.
Exactly. Yes. Once a book is put up in the system, it can be printed anywhere in the world and delivered anywhere in the world. It reduces the problem that small publishers have with lots of books in their basements and having to go around from bookshop to bookshop trying to get them on the shelves. When the book arrives in the bookshop, it's already sold, so the bookshops are just adoring it. It's a brilliant model.
Oh, that would be good.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything else that is on your mind that you would like to?
I think we've just pretty much covered all of my insanely busy life right now. I'm finishing up my thesis. I've got all this thesis work on my desk.
What's your thesis?
It's let's see if I can remember what it is. Where's my thesis? Digital publishing and the Australian genre author. I wrote a novella called The Bride with Red Hair, and the thesis is about how traditionally published authors are using digital self-publishing to either enhance their income or their market visibility. So I did 3 case studies. The Bride with Red Hair is one. 2 others were David Henley and Alan Baxter, who are both self-published work as well as having traditionally published work. And it's an extremely interesting thesis.
Sounds very interesting. Sounds like it'll be a must-read for people in the industry.
Due a week from Monday, so I need to get stuck in the queue. The UQ has been sending me forms to fill in for the final submission, and I'm like, I'm not ready yet.
Well, I will let you get back to it. Thank you very much for talking to me today.
Oh, thank you, Nalini. Yes, it's been great.